West says that Jesus was audaciously going around claiming to be God himself. I don't think that's true. Nowhere in Mark, Matthew, or Luke does Jesus actually claim to be God in his own words.
In my last 2 videos, we've been talking about how Alex O'Connor here is just dead wrong. We've been giving multiple examples of how, over and over, Jesus calls himself God in the Synoptic Gospels. But first I want to address a fallacy that Alex is making here. Jesus doesn't need to walk around with a neon sign saying, "I'm God," in order to make his identity obvious. This is just the exact word fallacy. Rejecting something because it's not worded exactly how you want, even when it's totally clear. Through what he says, does, and how he ties himself to the Hebrew scriptures, Jesus makes it pretty obvious he's divine if you're paying attention. Let's take a look at just 2 of his most jaw-dropping miracles that don't just suggest his divinity, they prove it. Picture this. It's dark, the wind is howling, waves are crashing over the boat, and the disciples are drenched, clinging on for dear life. Then Jesus gets up, speaks a few words, "Peace, be still," and the sea goes calm like glass. Here's the thing. Normal people don't do this. In Jewish thought, the sea represents chaos, an untamable force, and in the Old Testament, controlling it is exclusively God's job. Take a look at Psalm 107. "For he commanded and raised the stormy wind. They cried to the Lord in their trouble, and he brought them out of their distress. He made the storm be still, and the waves of the sea were hushed." Sound familiar? Jesus isn't just borrowing imagery here. He's stepping into a role that belongs to God alone. Mark 4:41 drives it home. The disciples say, "Who then is this, that even the wind and the sea obey him?" The disciples aren't just confused, they're terrified. Fear and awe are classic responses to encounters with God in Scripture. Think of Isaiah's vision of God or Jacob's ladder dream. Now, let's talk about Jesus walking on water. This story is found in Mark, Matthew, and John. It's night, the disciples are battling again in a storm in their boat, and they then see Jesus walking on the sea. At first, they panic, thinking he's a ghost, but then Jesus reassures them. "Take heart, it is I, do not be afraid." Here's why this moment is massive. Remember the Red Sea crossing? The Israelites walked through the sea on dry land, led by Moses. But Psalm 77 reflects on this event, saying, "Your way was through the sea, your path through the mighty waters, yet your footprints were unseen." Now, flash forward. Jesus isn't just walking on dry land like Moses, he's walking on the raging water itself. He's fulfilling what the psalmist described as something only God could do. Also, when Jesus says, "It is I," he's invoking the same divine name God uses for himself in Isaiah 43. "Do not fear, for I am with you. I am he." In Greek, that's ego eimi, which is the same words that Jesus uses in Mark, who makes a way in the sea, a path in the mighty waters. So Jesus isn't just calming their fears, he's declaring his identity as Yahweh, the one who commands the seas. And the disciples, they get it. Matthew 14:33 says, "And those in the boat worshipped him, saying, 'Truly you are the Son of God.'" Worship in Jewish thought isn't just casual admiration. Even Jesus himself said in Matthew 4:10, "Worship the Lord your God and serve him only." So if Jesus is not God, why then does he accept worship? Something reserved for God alone. These 2 miracles, calming the storm and walking on water, aren't just random displays of power. They're packed with Old Testament allusions that scream divinity. The Gospels show that creation itself knew the voice of its creator. Alex O'Connor here is just mistaken.